All right, let's talk about the season finale and the whole series, the whole first season of Star Trek Lower Decks. Star Trek Lower Decks has now completed its first season. And, I did a little bit of a mini review. Here are my thoughts after the first couple episodes. But I always like to wait until these things play out so we could talk about them once we've seen the whole thing. Now we've seen the whole season. And I can tell you, Lower Decks is really good. Lower Decks is really good. And here is a great testament to Lower Decks. Anytime there's a new Star Trek series, it's divisive. That's just the way it is, going all the way back to Next Generation. But I have seen less divisiveness towards Lower Decks than any recent Star Trek series. It seems, in general, the fandom has just embraced the show. And I think the reason is because the show is so reverential to Star Trek. I mean, you could see the love of Star Trek in every episode of this show. Mike McMahon, the creator of the show, is a hardcore Star Trek fan. And the jokes don't always land. And that could be a killer for a comedy series. However, with Lower Decks, it's just a likable show. I mean, it's very often hilarious. It's very often extremely funny. But even when the jokes don't land or seem kind of forced, it's just buried in this intense love of Star Trek. The amount of Easter eggs that you see in a single episode, I mean, you can't question the fandom of the people creating this show. They are hardcore Trek fans, and it shows. It's on there it's on the screen. It makes it to the screen. For example, the season finale, we saw the old Spock helmet, with the light on it from the 70s. They put that in there. Someone pointed out the Spock helmet, the toy Spock helmet from the 70s, is now official Star Trek canon because it's appeared in an official Star Trek episode. We revisit alien races you never thought you'd see again. Like the Packlids. The Packlids played a major role in the season finale. And just little things. Someone else pointed out, I wouldn't have even picked up on this. Someone else pointed out that there was a reference to a mistake in Star Trek First Contact. It was a mistake I wasn't even aware of, but someone early on in the movie says there's 24 decks on the Enterprise, and later on they said they've taken deck 26. I may have the numbers wrong, but it was like early on they say this is how many decks we have, and later on they said, oh, the Borg have taken a deck that supposedly wouldn't be there with the number. It was like 24. But, they've taken deck 26. Well, if there's only 24, how could they have taken 26? It was like a little mistake. So apparently there was a gag about that on the show where someone says, oh, where's the bar located? Oh, it's on deck 26. Oh, we have that many decks? I thought we only had 24. Yeah, but it's such an obscure gag. I'm a hardcore Star Trek fan. I would have never picked up on that. I never would have picked up on that. Someone had to point it out to me. And that's where we are with this show. It's just reverential of everything that came before. The writers have such an undying love for Star Trek, and they pull out so many obscure references, and it's funny, it's likable, it's charming. It's a charming show. It's impossible to be a Star Trek fan and kind of not be charmed by this series. The only ones who I've heard saying negative things, really, are the usual online trolls who have made it into a profitable business bashing Star Trek. You know who I mean. Like the clickbait liars who wear fake Doctor Doom masks, those kind of people. They're really the only ones saying negative things about it. If you go to the Star Trek Facebook groups, which often are at each other's throats, the overwhelming majority seem to love the show. So let's talk about the season finale, and we're going to have some spoilers. If you haven't seen the season finale, I apologize. But in the season finale, we get our first canon look at the USS Titan, Riker's ship from Star Trek Star Trek Nemesis. In Star Trek Nemesis, we found out he was going to the Titan upon leaving the Enterprise. We've never seen the USS Titan on screen. It's appeared in non-canon material like comics and novels, but we've never actually seen the USS Titan before. The USS Titan, we know what it looks like for the first time ever. Now, I say for the first time ever, I'm aware some of you are out there like, but Joe, it was on the cover of the Star Trek Titan novel by Pocket Books and blah, blah, blah. I know, but that's not canon. The novels aren't canon. So they were free. The writers, the designers, they were free to alter those designs. The novels could say the Titan looks like whatever the novels want the Titan to look like, but it's what's on screen that matters. So they could have contradicted that easily, and what appears on screen would have been canon. So for the first time ever, we know what the Titan looks like. It does look like what's appeared on the novels, and they've made that canon, which means next year, Hallmark, you could put the USS Titan in an ornament. We can hang the USS Titan from our Christmas tree now, because now we finally know officially for sure what the USS Titan looks like. Of course, they have a number of ships they could do for an ornament next year. There's no ornament this year. It's the first year I can remember there was no Star Trek. There are Star Trek ornaments. There's an Enterprise tree topper. There's some mirror universe, but there's no just regular ship like the Enterprise or something. It seems odd, but next year we've got the ship from Picard, and I love the show Picard. I've seen every episode, but I always forget what the name of the ship is. But there's the ship from Picard. You could do the Cerritos from Lower Decks. Now you could do the Titans as we've seen it on Lower Decks. So there's no shortage of ships. Now, like I said, there are going to be spoilers. At the end of the episode, here comes a spoiler. You've been warned. Here comes a spoiler. At the end of the episode, Boimler gets promoted to the USS Titan. So Boimler is no longer a crew member on the Cerritos. He's gone. And Mike McMahon's already come out and said that they're not going to undo that. So next year, Will Riker is going to be back, because we're going to be cutting apparently between the Cerritos and the Titan. Which, how long could that last? At some point, right? At some point, Boimler has to get transferred back to the Cerritos. How else are you going to make this work? Or else the other lower deckers have to get transferred to the Titan. Otherwise you'd be cutting between two ships all the time. You can't tell a coherent story that way. So I could see that lasting for a few episodes, but that's got to be a temporary measure. Eventually they got to bring them back together under one ship. So how long will that be? But Riker's back, man. We got Riker back. We got Deanna Troi back. This begs the question, is Wesley Crusher on board the Titan? Is Wesley Crusher on board the Titan? The reason I ask is because there's a deleted scene from Star Trek Nemesis. It's on the Blu-ray. You can find the deleted scene. There's a deleted scene on the Blu-ray for Star Trek Nemesis where Wesley Crusher says he is an engineer on board the Titan now. He's back in Starfleet. He's going to the Titan with Riker and Troy, and he's going to be an engineer on the Titan. Well, those scenes got cut from the movie. They're on the deleted scenes. You can find them on the disc. They're on there. But that's an interesting question. How canon are deleted scenes? We always say anything that is on screen is canon, but if something was shot to be on screen and then cut out, I would say that's probably not necessarily canon. I would say it's not canon unless they choose to make it canon. There's no reason it couldn't be canon, because nothing has been said since to contradict that. So season 2, we could see Will Wheaton as Wesley on board the Titan. We could, because it's been established on a deleted scene that he was going to the Titan. So if they choose to honor that and make it canon, then we can see Will Wheaton next year too. And he's already expressed interest in being on the show. Excuse me. So, I gotta call season 1 of Star Trek Lower Decks a huge win. I've already got a piece of Lower Decks merch. It's unofficial, but I've got a choo-choo shirt from the episode where they go to the choo-choo dance, and Boimler's like, I made us choo-choo shirts. I got a choo-choo shirt. I went online. I know a guy. He made some shirts, put them up online, and I got a choo-choo shirt. So, yeah, and it's given us so many things already that I think Star Trek fans are going to be embracing for years to come, like the sarcastic Vulcan salute. I mean, every Star Trek fan's going to be doing that at cons now. You're going to be like, hey, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. The sarcastic Vulcan salute's a thing now, thanks to Lower Decks. I really like the show. I think season 1 is probably, I'm going to say season 1 of Lower Decks is probably the third best first season of a Star Trek series. Star Trek series traditionally have weak first seasons. The writers kind of have to find their groove. Next Generation is the worst. Next Generation had the worst first season. Voyager and Enterprise, also on the weaker side. Not as bad as Next Generation. Next Generation was the worst, in the words of John Ralphio. There's no topping Next Generation on bad first seasons. So the best first season a Star Trek series has ever had is the original series. The original series was great in year 1, great in year 2, and then it was year 3 they started to kind of lose it. But season 1 and 2 were really good of the original series. Then we had Next Generation, which had kind of a weak first season. We had DS9, which actually, they're probably 4th. They had a pretty strong first season. But, it definitely got better as it went along. But Next Generation, their first season wasn't bad. Voyager, weak. Enterprise, weak. Then we get to Discovery. Discovery was really good. So I think best first season we've ever had of a Star Trek is the Star Trek series is the original series. Number 2 is Discovery. I'm going to put Lower Decks at number 3 and Deep Space Nine at number 4. Because this is a solid first season. And these characters, they're just likable characters. Like Mariner's my favorite character. Mariner is hilarious. I love Mariner. I really hope this cast starts doing the convention circuit when conventions come back. I want to meet Tawny Newsome. She's really, really funny as Mariner. And Tendi, Tendi and Rutherford are just two of the most, they're just so likable. And Boimler, this is a great cast. I want Funko Pops of these guys. I really want Funko Pops of the Lower Decks guys. I think they would translate really well to Funko Pops. Funko, give us Lower Decks Funko Pops. So yeah, I really like these characters. I like the humor. It's a show that just has heart. It just has so much heart. Like I said, it's a comedy show. The comedy doesn't always land, but it's still so likable, and that's because it has heart. So I am a huge fan of season 1 of Lower Decks. I can't wait for it to come back. Big win, CBS. Thank you. This is really good. This exceeded my expectations, and what can I say? Keep wearing those pajamas.
Keep wearing those pajamas with the plastic feet. Keep wearing those pajamas. Tell everyone you meet. Keep wearing those pajamas with the back door flap. Keep wearing those pajamas. Don't open, it's a trap. Oh no, it's a trap. Some people call them PJs, some people call them jammies. They can come embroidered with big money and no whammies. They can have 100 tiny commander adamas, but no matter how they look, just keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep wearing those pajamas. And now we're having fun. Keep wearing those pajamas. And now the song is done.